Music has two main things. One is the melody, the other is the rhythm. Nobody teaches you to rock your head, tap your feet when you're listening to music. Sleep is a very emotional, mental, and a very physical process. All of these have to be in sync for a person to have a sound sleep. Luring yourself to sleep, you have to have a very slow tempo, lower beats per minute, because it has to calm you down. It has to lower your heart rate. It has to lower your pulse.
Welcome, you're watching Happiest Health. In this episode, we have a special guest, Aditya Kamakshinadha, a certified music therapist. And what are we going to talk about today? The relation between music and sleep. How we use music to calm ourselves, to relax, to reduce stress and anxiety, all that and more. Welcome, Aditya, to this episode.
Thank you so much.
Now, music is something that's introduced to us in childhood, infancy, sometimes, as early as when we are in the mother's womb. Now, there's one thing that's peculiar about this. When we go to sleep, when we're, little babies, parents or elder ones in the house sing lullabies to put us to sleep. That is probably the first introduction that we have when it comes to music and sleep. What really happens there? What is the science behind songs or music to put someone to sleep?
So, music in itself has an ability to heal. Music is very, very therapeutic, right? And nobody teaches you to rock your head, tap your feet when you're listening to music. It's something called the innate musicality that everybody is born with. We walk in rhythm. Our footsteps are in rhythm. Our heartbeat is already beating in a specific rhythm. And our breathing pattern, everything is automatically rhythmic. Whenever we are born, we are wired to bob our heads whenever we are listening to a very rhythmic beat, right? So in terms of lullabies, it usually comprises of a very simple melody and a gentle rhythm that's accompanied with it. So usually a lullaby comprises of any song in a 6/8 time signature, which is tak kita, tak kita, tak kita. It's also called waltz. If I have to explain using the instrument, this and a South Indian percussion called the ganjira. Okay. It's like. So this automatically has a very soothing and calming effect whenever we listen to. And this kind of is a very rocking rhythm, right? Whenever you want to put a baby to sleep, you rock it in a cradle, right? Or you tap it gently. And this is the rhythm that mothers employ. And that automatically lulls the baby to sleep. So this has not been taught to us. It's not been told, okay, if you're going to compose a lullaby, you better do it in 6/8. It is a natural rhythm that evolves, right? I feel lullabies were the first way of communicating love to a baby. Even before words were invented, even before we used language to communicate, mothers started singing or vocalizing in a very soothing or melodic tone in this beat pattern to calm their babies to sleep. It kind of mimicked the in utero environment. And it made the baby feel safe. Only when the baby felt safe, it went to a sound sleep and had a very calm setting. So when the baby is threatened, it usually is awake, right? This rhythm slowly lures the baby to sleep, and it's a very natural process. There's no hard and fast rule that this has to be, but this always works.
Very interesting what you told about how this rhythm or the tone or our sense of music is very innate. It's not something that we're trained to understand. And like the example that you gave about walking or the heartbeat, for example, The second thing that you talked about, the safe space, how music gives you that safe space, and that's when you relax and calm down and go to sleep. Now, over a period of time, you learn to associate this with certain kinds of music. Now, a lot of people prefer sounds of nature to calm them. How does this work? Is it something that's learned later on, or certain music or sounds have that innate ability to calm you down?
So we have all evolved, right, from an early man to very developed beings that we are now, so-called developed beings.
Yeah.
But we always turn to nature to calm us. Whenever you're stressed, you know what, I want to go on a vacation. I want to connect with nature. This connect is what we are missing in these days. We are living in a very high stressed environment, and we look forward to vacations where we are able to again bond with nature, bond with sounds of nature, because there is some quality in nature that is very calming. Be it the sound of the waves, or the pitter-patter of the raindrops, or just the rustling of the leaves. It makes you feel very connected with nature. And we are also beings who are intertwined with nature, right? So when we are going against nature, that's when all the stress, anxiety, everything starts propping up. So when you're again able to go back to square one and, hey, this is where I belong, the forest or the sea, this is where I grew up from. When you're able to connect to your roots, you feel calm, you feel safe, because that is home.
Okay.
So when we are away from our home, usually we feel threatened. So we kind of go back, sync with our roots, and sounds of nature usually brings that feeling of home and warmth. And again, this warmth is needed for sleeping. Sleep is a very emotional, mental, and a very physical process. All of these have to be in sync for a person to have a sound sleep.
We see a lot of people using sounds of nature or the sounds of rain, for example, when they go to sleep. There are apps that actually give you minutes or hours of this music together,
Exactly.
which calms you down. Now, we hear something called the white noise.
Yes.
What exactly is that, and what kind of effect does that have on your brain and your physical well-being?
Yeah, so white noise is nothing but a random collection of all frequencies. So it basically sounds like so before, I think when we were using CRT TVs, when there was no signal, there used to be something that's seen in TVs. No, that noise that you hear is called the white noise. To make anybody understand, everybody would have witnessed that. So that noise is spread across the whole audible frequency spectra, and that kind of has the ability to mask other sounds. So if you have noisy neighbors, or if you have a snoring partner, when you use white noise, this kind of masks the other sounds, and it makes you go into that state where it's like a very meditative state, where you're having all these frequencies that's put out. And then I would say that this is a very distractive medium, where you're just listening to this white noise and the other sounds are masked. You're not able to hear the other sound. So there's a constant repetitive sound that's heard in the background. Be it rain, right? Rain also has a constant pitter-patter.
Yes.
And that is actually pink noise. That's another type of white. So white noise is a type of noise which has these kinds of frequencies. Pink noise is a different kind of frequency. So these are all constant audio sources which have a repetitive pattern, but also don't vary in terms of amplitude. It's the same amplitude. You listen to it, because it's repetitive and it's constant, you automatically go into a meditative state. So that's what happens when you listen to white noise, and that's why you need to listen to a long period, just not for 15 minutes, more like probably 1 hour, to be in that meditative state and slowly lure yourself to sleep.
Okay. Are there other kinds of noises as well? Is there an ideal noise that you should listen to if you have to go to sleep, or certain kind of music, beats?
Yes, there are other kinds of noises, but again, it's a very, very subjective feeling, right? Music is subjective, and the music that you choose for sleep is again subjective. What I may like, you may not like. What you might prefer, I may not prefer. And this is called the musical profile or the musical taste of an individual. So I might prefer white noise, you might prefer the sound of rain. So whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat, that person has to adapt to that and then use that to help them to go to sleep.
There's something about the beats per minute that is seen as the ideal tone or music that one should listen to relax. Is there something like that?
Yeah, so music has two main things. One is the melody, the other is the rhythm. So when it comes to the rhythmic aspect, the rhythm is defined as something that's repetitive, that's constant, and something that is the backbone of any song. So a rhythm in a music is defined as the tempo. Tempo is, this is a tempo. This is another tempo. So you said beats per minute, right? A tempo is defined with respect to beats per minute. How many beats occur in a specific minute? So the more the number of minutes, the faster the song is. The slower the beats per minute is, the slower the song is. So I think this is very obvious. So when you are luring yourself to sleep, you have to have a very slow tempo, lower beats per minute, because it has to calm you down. It has to lower your heart rate. It has to lower your pulse. So when you ideally all the songs like lullabies or any song that you can use to lure yourself to sleep has to be in the beats per minute range of 60 to 80.
Okay.
60 to 80 beats per minute is the ideal recommended range of tempo. When it goes beyond that, it's becoming stimulating.
Okay.
You start, okay, it makes you into the wakeful state.
You want to get up and dance, basically.
Yeah. So we don't want that. So we usually go on to the lower end of the range. So usually 60 to 80 is what is suggested.
Okay. Aditya, I see two instruments here. One of it you've played already. What is the other one? Would you want to play that for us?
So this is the dharbuka. This is an Arabian instrument. So what I played earlier was the ganjira. This usually has a very subtle characteristic to it. So it has very deep lows and soft highs.
Okay.
So it's very subtle. It has a very gentle character to it. So usually when I perform or when I'm using in music therapy sessions, I use this in order to calm the patients, in order to make them go into a very meditative or calm state. This is a very stimulating instrument. The one I told, right? The one that makes you get up and dance, tap your feet and clap
Which
along.
has more than 60 to 80 beats per minute.
Exactly. So and the sound and the amplitude of this instrument is also pretty high.
Okay.
So this is usually used when a person is feeling very lethargic. He wants to have a lot more energy, and in sessions where we want the client to interact musically, we give them an instrument. We do a participative musical session wherein he is also responding musically with me, not verbally, but using musical instruments to communicate. So basically this automatically makes you groove. So to give you a sample rhythm, it goes like. I never told you to bob your head or groove, but you automatically did, right? So that's the quality of music I'm talking about.
I think that's something probably I would want to play beginning of the day, so I wake up and go to work.
So you feel energized.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's also I'd like to add is why drum circles are a big hit. So drum circle is a session where we all communicate musically. So when I facilitate a drum circle, I give them individual percussive instruments, and then I facilitate the session. Everybody comes together and bonds using just music. So
I wish I got one to join you and try that out.
That'd be great. I mean, everybody here in the office.
Yes, we could have done a session like that. Okay. All right. Now you talked about this beats per minute and the tempo, the rhythm that is required to calm down someone or relax, for example. When you're going to sleep, this also works to reduce stress and anxiety, I'm guessing?
Yes.
But not everybody uses that. Some people use fast music, or I know people who use heavy metal to sort of feel relaxed. How does that work then? Is it their understanding of the rhythm?
So there is two ways to look at it. One is musical preference. I already mentioned about how everybody has a different musical profile. So what my playlist is completely different from yours. I might listen to a lot of more meditative sounds, and that calms me down. That makes me feel like I am able to relate to the music. But when I have to lull myself to sleep, I do use rain sounds, or I use sounds of nature, or something that works for me. But for another person, rock music might be relaxing for them. It might give them a piece of solace, but medically speaking, it might not lure them to sleep, because again, in a rock music, the amplitude is high, the choice of instruments, a lot of heavy drums, a lot of electric guitars, and the BPM is usually above 120. So when it's above 120, you're listening to it, so your heartbeat automatically rises. You don't tell your heartbeat, okay, go up, go down, right? It automatically happens with respect to what you're listening to. So it might bring them some happiness, they can relate to it, but in order to sleep, I don't think that really works, because the more the number of beats per minute, the more exciting or stimulating it is going to be.
So I think there are two parts to it. One is the medical aspect, where the relaxing music relaxes you.
Yes.
And the other aspect of feeling safe that you can relate to will sort of reduce your stress and anxiety itself. But when it comes to sleeping, medically you use a more soothing sound.
Correct.
In that case, for our audience who are watching, do you have any tips in case I'm stressed or I'm anxious, or say I have to go up and speak and I have this stage fright, or are there any tips that I can use, or you could give our audience in terms of beats, or just tapping, clapping, something that you could?
Yeah, so medically, again, one thing that relaxes is deep breathing, just having some nature sounds in your headphones and just focusing on your breath, because it kind of transports you into a serene environment. You are not here, you're not backstage. You get that feeling when you are having headphones on, you're listening to some calm music, and then you're able to zone into that music. That kind of immediately brings your anxiety down, brings your stage fright down. So that's something that I also do as a performer. So that is one thing. Another thing, on a general basis, people can clap, as simple as clapping. So we have a lot of nerve endings in our palms, and just clapping on a daily basis is very, very beneficial for our physical health also. And you're actually, when you're rubbing your palms together, you feel energized immediately. That's why after a meditative session, when you rub, you feel the heat, right? So you're actually activating the whole nervous system, and it's going to get more energized. So that's one way to feel less stressed. And it's also a way to bring yourself to the present moment.
Okay.
You're always thinking, okay, what if this happens?
Yeah.
Or okay, this happened, I don't know what to do. So we are always
In the past,
or in the future. So when you have to kind of bring your awareness to the present, clapping or breathing will immediately help. And I think the magic lies in the present moment. So whenever you are able to, be as present as possible, you'll be able to, tap into the beauty of life.
Is there a quick exercise you want to give all of us here in the studio to bring us to the present? I mean, we're very much here, but
okay,
a
sure.
clapping exercise.
Okay, super. Can you all clap the rhythm pattern that I'm playing? Okay, let's go.
Very nice.
So, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
Now I want to be the interviewer.
Yes.
So when I was playing and you were, clapping, what were you thinking?
To follow the beat, and basically I was enjoying it.
Were you thinking about assignments, deadlines?
No.
Were you thinking about what you were going to cook for dinner?
Definitely not.
So you were present.
Yes.
What did you do?
Just focus
and clap.
Yes.
So that's how simple it is.
Okay, I think that's a very simple and a great lesson that I'm going to take home today. Thank you so much, Aditya, for giving us such a lovely session and explaining in simple terms what music means. And I think some of these tips and exercises that you made us do, I think I'll take back home and practice the next time I'm stressed or anxious.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being at Happiest Health, and I hope to be here back soon and do a more, bigger musical session. Thank you so much. Loved interacting.
Looking forward, Aditya. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.